My name is Tim Pearson. I'm the city manager for the city of St. Mary's, and I've been in the job since October 4th of 2015. So prior to moving back home, St. Mary's is my hometown. I retired from the United States Air Force. So after graduating college from Penn State University, I went off with a commission in the United States Air Force, did that for a little over 20 years, retired out of the Pentagon in DC in February of 15. And then, as I mentioned, in October of 2015, I took this job. So there's a lot of things that fall under the city manager. Real quick, just about St. Mary's. So St. Mary's is a home rule charter city, which means we're bound. Our organizational structure is set by our home rule charter, and we have what's called a strong manager position. So basically everything in the city falls under me. So police department falls under my responsibility. The chief of police works for me. The director of public works, we have a finance department. We manage a $6.5 million annual budget. And then I have a staff that works everything from code enforcement issues to community and economic development. So my day-to-day job is basically anything with the city, working with my departments and working with residents to resolve whatever we need to do, whether it be residents' complaints, issues, concerns, or managing the infrastructure that we have as part of the city of St. Mary's. Some of the biggest challenges, I think, are some of the biggest priorities we have for my administration. St. Mary's is doing pretty well. Actually, last year we had the largest economic development probably in the last 3 years. Over $22 million was invested in the city as far as growth from businesses, from homeowners. And so with that comes the challenge of, as our businesses want to grow, do we have the population and people here to support those new businesses? So really one of the biggest challenges is how do we recruit and get people to move back to St. Mary's? How do we deal with the housing issues and the challenges of things to do here that motivates people to move back? And that's really one of our biggest challenges and priorities of how do we face those things. Really one of the biggest things, and I'm excited about doing this interview, is really telling the St. Mary's story and getting that story out to more people so that we can continue to grow in a healthy way. Probably what I enjoy most is that I'm home. You know, it's weird. You know, I was born and raised here in St. Mary's. 1994, left with the Air Force. 20 years, ran around the world doing a whole bunch of different things. And then I was excited the opportunity presented itself to move home. And what's cool about this job is not only did I move home, that I'm part of the team that's kind of shaping where this city goes in the future, what's the vision of the city. So that's what excites me the most, is that I'm part of the team to kind of help the city that I love kind of move forward. So, you know, really, I think the best advice is more of a general profession, whether this profession or whatever else. It's the same thing I tell, you know, a lot of people. I actually teach a class also on the side, which is interesting. So I teach high school students, and, you know, one of the biggest lessons is figure out who you want to be and then be driven and motivated and go get it. You know, kind of plan ahead, set a vision. And, you know, the most flexible person, I think, is the person that has that vision and plan. You're always going to flex and change and deviate as life kind of throws things at you. But if you have that vision and you're motivated and you have the drive, go get it. You want to be the next president? Go run for the next president. You want to be on the next Mars mission? You know, I think that will drive, no matter what position or career field you want. Everybody's looking for that driven individual that wants to do a great job and is willing to put in the effort to kind of do what they need to do. So I think that, you know, that crosses kind of all, I think, professions. You know, for this job, like I said, so my job is to manage the city, and there's a lot of pieces that are with that job. And you know, a lot of the skills I got from the Air Force, and I'm very happy for that. I think the largest skill, I think, is leadership. You know, I manage a 48-person team here, over 50 if you look at our part-time employees, and pushing 100 if you look at our summer employees and stuff for our seasonal workers. It's setting the vision for the city. Where do we want to go? How do we want to get there? And then motivating people. So, you know, leadership, I think, is number one. Project management is a close second. If you looked around my office, you'd see tons of folders. I try to color coordinate, don't do such a good job. There's a million projects in the bucket at any given time, and it's how do you manage that? How do you balance that? And so learning project management, of how you take a project from beginning to end and how you manage that with other projects. And then kind of back to the leadership stuff is, you know, overall people skills. And I think that's also good for any profession. You know, how do you deal with other people, whether to motivate them, to get them as part of your team, or just to work. For my job, I spend a lot of time talking to residents, talking to business owners, you know, relating relating to them, understanding their concerns, their issues, and then trying to come up with a solution. And then one thing I look back for on skills that I use all the time is I was an engineer in school, so I went to Penn State University for computer engineering. I don't computer engineer much anymore. I was a techie geek when I was younger, but I think the engineering principles I learned from being an engineer, which is problem solving, is a huge skill. It's understanding how to understand a problem, define a problem, and then come up with a pathway ahead. And I think those 4 things kind of keep me pretty grounded. That's a great question, and if I could give you an average day, I would. I think an average day for this job is that there's not an average day. Literally, a lot of my days I'll talk to my staff and I'll use the phrase, "You can't make this up." Meaning that would have no idea that this would be the topic of the day that we'd have to address. An average day is really working with the departments throughout the city, working with residents to try to solve a multitude of problems that literally change every day. And I've been in the job almost 3 years now, and I still couldn't tell you what's the next problem tomorrow. It seems like we're shocked every day. So an average day is really a day in chaos where you do your best to work with residents and business owners and your staff to kind of come up with solutions and kind of press forward. That's a great question. One of the things that I love about St. Mary's, and I'm happy to move home, happy to move back to Elk County in western Pennsylvania, is I think we have the best of both worlds in here. As a guy that now has lived in 9 different states, traveled all over the world, a lot of great places to see, but I love the family back here. A lot of my family's still here. I love the community, which is a broader family. I love the values in this area in western Pennsylvania. It's kind of that country living, but we have a lot of the benefits here in St. Mary's that the cities will have. We have a lot of great places to eat, great things to do. People always say, "I don't know what there is to do." Well, there's a lot to do back here. And I think it's just a nice balance, and I enjoy, again, that country kind of setting. I am a hunter, and so enjoy western PA, and it's just good to be home.